I worked at a factory in the heart of the Rust Belt, where the air always carried a faint tang of machine oil and possibility. It was the kind of place that didn't just employ you, it shaped you, like a mold pressing hot metal into form. Family-owned since 1952, it had grown from a one-room workshop into a sprawling operation with 3 shifts running around the clock, more than 250 souls keeping the lights on and the pumps humming. We made industrial control systems, big, rugged beasts that kept factories and pipelines running smooth across the Midwest and beyond. But what set us apart wasn't the product. It was the people. And the perks. Oh, the perks. If you stuck around for 25 years or more, you unlocked the golden ticket. 8 weeks of vacation time plus 2 weeks of personal days. That wasn't just time off. It was a badge of honor. A testament to loyalty in an industry where jobs came and went like summer storms. Folks planned European river cruises, built backyard decks, or just vanished into the woods with a fishing pole and a cooler of beer. It was the old owner's way of saying, "You've given me your prime. Now take back some life." He fought tooth and nail for it during union negotiations back in the 80s, when the economy was bleeding jobs faster than a stuck pig. We revered that policy like scripture. It kept turnover low, morale high, and the break room buzzing with stories of that one trip to the Keys where the hurricane almost wiped us out. Imagine the envy when someone returned with photos of sun-soaked beaches or tales of mountain hikes. It wasn't jealousy. It was aspiration. A reminder that sticking it out paid dividends beyond the paycheck. My name's Andy. Well, that's what I'll go by here. I clocked 4 years on the second shift, running quality checks on the assembly line. It was grunt work, but it paid the bills and put food on the table for my young family. I saw it all. The highs of landing a massive contract with an oil refiner down in Texas, the lows of a faulty batch that shut down a whole line for a week and had the foreman pacing like a caged lion. But mostly, I saw the rhythm of real life, the way Mary from welding would belt out old Motown tunes to drown out the grind of the machines, her voice cutting through the whine of drills like a ray of sunlight, or how Big Dan, the forklift wizard with arms like tree trunks, always had a dad joke ready to diffuse a tense moment, something corny like, "Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts," delivered with a wink that could melt the iciest standoff. And then there was Jack. Jack Harlan, though half the plant called him Gramps behind his back, never to his face, was the grizzled cornerstone of it all. Started at 20, fresh out of high school with grease already under his nails from tinkering in his old man's garage on weekends, fixing carburetors and dreaming of bigger machines. That was 1952, the year the founder poured the first concrete slab and hung a sign that read, "Open for business," in faded red paint. Jack swept floors at first, dodging sparks from the welders that flew like angry hornets and learning the hard way that epoxy didn't forgive mistakes. One wrong mix, and you'd be scraping hardened globs off the bench for hours, cursing under your breath. Over the decades, he climbed, from machinist dodging lathe accidents to lead assembler coordinating the chaos of the line, to specialist in the black art of the electronic control module. By 63, he was a walking archive of the place, his face a roadmap of laugh lines etched deep from years of shared jokes and squint creases from staring into the blue flicker of soldering flames late into overtime shifts, salt and pepper beard that he trimmed once a year, whether it needed it or not, with a pair of rusty shears from the tool crib, hands like baseball mitts scarred from nicks and burns accumulated over thousands of hours, but steady as a surgeon's when it mattered most. He gave zero shits about office politics or the latest corporate buzzwords floating around like smoke from a bad weld. "Life's too short for tie knots or PowerPoint presentations," he'd grunt, nursing black coffee from a mug that said "World's Okayest Grandpa," a gift from his grandkids that he kept polished despite the coffee rings. What made Jack indispensable wasn't his attitude, it was his skill, honed sharper than any lathe blade. That ECM? It was the beating heart of our flagship pump controller, the gizmo that synced pressures and prevented catastrophic failures in the field. A fist-sized brain of circuits and sensors, sealed hermetically in a 2-part epoxy housing that had to cure just right. Too hot, it bubbled like witch's brew and shorted the internals. Too cold, it cracked under pressure like thin ice on a pond. The founder patented it in '68 after a eureka moment in the shop, mixing resins late one night, inspired by a W2 radio repair kit he'd scavenged from a junkyard, the kind with vacuum tubes that glowed like fireflies in the dark. Jack learned. The pour from the man himself. Back when the plant smelled more like fresh varnish and sawdust than the metallic tang of victory after a big order shipped. Only 2 people knew the full ritual. Jack on the floor with his calloused fingers guiding the flow, and Earl up in accounting, who handled the specs and quality logs but never got his hands dirty beyond flipping pages in a binder. Earl was Jack's backup, a wiry 58-year-old with bifocals perpetually sliding down his nose and a ledger for a soul, always calculating yields to the decimal. They'd banter like uncles at a family reunion, Jack calling him professor with a mock salute, Earl ribbing him about dino-era tricks that'd make a computer blush. Plant life revolved around characters like them, a tapestry of sweat and stories woven tight over the years. Take the morning ritual. Dawn breaking over the parking lot like a slow bleed of pink and orange, a sea of F-150s and Civics crunching gravel under tires worn smooth from daily commutes. First shift piled in at 6 a.m., thermoses steaming with whatever brew kept the night shift's ghosts at bay, lunch pails swinging like pendulums from calloused fists. The airlock doors whooshed open with a pneumatic sigh, unleashing the symphony, hiss of air cylinders cycling, clank of steel pallets stacking, the low growl of conveyor belts waking up from their overnight slumber. Jack's station was in the corner, a shrine of organized chaos, oscilloscopes flickering like fireflies in jars, spools of multicolored wire tangled in rainbow knots, mold scarred from 1,000 pours and repours. He'd arrive early, always, firing up the resin heaters with a flip of the switch while humming Johnny Cash tunes under his breath. Ring of fire for the epoxy mix. Fitting, since one slip could turn your workbench into an inferno that'd have the fire department sirens wailing before lunch. By 7:30, the floor thrummed with life, a living organism pulsing to the beat of torque wrenches and hydraulic presses. Mary, 42, with tattoos peeking from her sleeves like secrets half told, torqued bolts to a salsa beat playing faint through her earbuds, her hips swaying just enough to keep the rhythm without tripping the safety sensors. Aye, Jack. You see the game last night? Cubs choked again. Story of my life, always one strike away from glory. Big Dan, 55 and built like a fridge left out in the rain, rumbled by on his forklift. Pallet of empty housings teetering like a Jenga tower on the brink. Jack, old-timer, you still mixing that goop, I feel? My grandma's got better tech, a wooden spoon and a prayer. Jacked fire back without looking up from his pour, voice steady as the drip. Your grandma's spoon got us through the '08 recession. Dan, when orders dried up faster than a creek in July. This? It's art, not assembly line slop. Laughter rippled across the floor like a wave, a glue stronger than any epoxy we poured, binding us through the monotony. Lunch was sacred territory. 30 minutes in the break room, a linoleum tomb lit by buzzing fluorescents that hummed like distant bees. Vending machines dispensed dreams on the cheap. Twinkies for the young bucks nursing hangovers. Black coffee for the vets chasing the edge off another dawn patrol. Jack held court at the wobbly table by the window, the one with the view of the loading dock where semis idled like sleeping elephants, spinning yarns that stretched like taffy pulled hot from the pot. Back in '79, strike hits hard. Picket lines snaking the fence, air thick with picket signs and bad coffee. Founders out there with a bullhorn, voice cracking like thunder. Boys, we ain't breaking. We're bending till they beg for mercy. Served sandwiches from his wife's kitchen, ham on rye with mustard that burned going down. That man, legend, pure and simple. We'd lean in, forks paused mid-air over foil-wrapped mysteries, because Jack didn't just tell stories, he lived them. Each one etched in the calluses of his palms from 43 years of showing up when the siren wailed. But even legends cast long shadows, and Jack had his share of darkness tucked away. A bad back from hauling crates in the pre-forklift days, when everything moved by muscle and mule-headed determination, twinging like a live wire on rainy mornings. A son lost to the opioids sweeping the county a decade back. A quiet ache that surfaced in the way he'd linger over family photos on slow afternoons. His wife, Sarah, a nurse at the local ER where the nights blurred into days of blood and broken bones, kept him grounded, steel gray hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. Eyes that could pin a butterfly to the wall with a glance or melt the hardest heart with a smile. They'd met at a company picnic in '82, the kind with potato salad going warm in the sun and kids chasing frisbees across the grass. She patched his hand after a wire snag drew blood like a promise, and he wooed her with a six-pack of cold ones and a sunset drive down back roads lined with fireflies. No kids left at home anymore, just the two of them in a ranch house off Route 9. Garden overrun with tomatoes ripening red as regret, and a porch swing that creaked like old bones in the wind. It was a Tuesday in early fall when the first crack appeared in the foundation we'd all taken for granted, leaves turning gold outside the grimy windows, crunching under boots in the lot like brittle promises. The plant owner, Old Man Thompson, no relation to Jack or anyone else, but fate's got a twisted sense of humor, called an all-hands meeting that felt heavier than the usual huddle by the time clock. This was the full Monty. Everyone crammed into the shipping bay under strings of bare bulbs swinging like pendulums, casting shadows that danced across pallets stacked high as houses. Thompson was 73, Silvermane wild as a prophet's. A limp from a shop accident in 71 that he'd earned wrestling a rogue press back to heel. But his voice still boomed like thunder rolling over Lake Michigan on a stormy eve. Dressed in his Sunday suit, grease spots blooming on the cuffs like badges of honor, he climbed a milk crate with a grunt, megaphone crackling to life in his gnarled fist. "Folks," he started, voice thick as sorghum molasses poured slow. "You know me better than my own mirror some days. Swept these floors with my paw before most of you were sparks in your daddy's eyes. Back when this was a shed fighting the wind. Built it from a shed and a prayer. Through the recessions that clawed like wolves, the floods that turned the lot to a river. That damn fire in 93 that took half the roof and left us breathing smoke for weeks." He paused for nods rippling through the crowd, chuckles bubbling up at the memory of hoses snaking everywhere, and the founder himself manning a pump like a fire chief. Y'all are the spine holding it upright, the grit in the gears, but time's a thief in the night, silent and sure. Knees creak louder than the presses now. Heart whispers slow down when the grandkids come running for bedtime stories I ain't told in years. I'm selling the place. Murmurs swelled like a hive disturbed by a stick. Shock rippling outward. Not full panic yet, but the air thickened with it. Faces turned, eyes wide as saucers, hands fidgeting with hard hats. "To a corporation," he pressed on, raising a hand weathered by decades to still the tide. "Big outfit out east with a solid rep in the game. They scouted us for months, saw the patents gleaming like gold in the specs, the backlog stretching like a promise, and most important, you fine people making it all sing. Promised me straight. Jobs locked tighter than a vault, benefits ironclad as the founder's word. That vacation policy we bled for? Sacrosanct, untouched, minimal ripples in the pond. I'm handing the wheel to folks who can steer this ship without me nursing the helm every gale." He nodded to the shadows at the edge of the light. A suit, mid-50s with a pressed shirt gleaming like a new quarter under the bulbs, smile polished to a sheen. "Mr. Landon here, your new captain. Treat him right, like family coming to supper." Handshakes rippled through the crowd like aftershocks. Claps tentative at first, then building to a roar of forced optimism. Thompson pulled Jack aside after the dispersal, grip firm as cured steel on his shoulder. "You especially, son. That ECM pour of yours? It's the soul of the operation. The spark that keeps the heart beating. Keep it pure no matter what winds blow in." Jack nodded slow, jaw set like granite, but his gut twisted into knots tighter than the wires he soldered. Suits always smelled like change to him, the kind of change that swept through towns like a twister, leaving boarded windows and for sale signs waving like white flags in the dust. The 2 weeks that followed blurred into a haze of handoffs and hollow reassurances, the air growing thicker with uncertainty. Landon's team swarmed the place like ants on a picnic, consultants in khakis starched stiff, laptops whirring metrics we couldn't pronounce if we tried, clipboards clicking like castanets. Memos bloomed on bulletin boards overnight. Synergy initiative, together we thrive. Lean tomorrow, efficiency today. Phrases that sounded like they were cooked up in a boardroom far from the sweat. Breaks trimmed from 15 to 10 minutes, just enough time to gulp coffee before the whistle bit. Coffee stations consolidated to one per shift, lines snaking longer than the lunch rush. Whispers echoed in the John and under the hum of the lines. Heard their eye in the pension match next. Or, my cousin at the auto plant. Suits came. Benefits vanished, now it's ghosts in the halls. But we held our breath collective, trusting Thompson's parting word like a lighthouse in fog, clinging to the hope that promises held weight. Then the hammer fell swift and without mercy. A Thursday memo emailed at 4:57 p.m., Friday Eve, the coward's hour when folks were half out the door. Subject, Benefits optimization, effective immediately. Vacation accrual maxed at 4 weeks, no exceptions. Personal time? Abolished like a bad habit. Banked legacy hours from the old days? Exhaust by Deck 31, no carryover into the new year. No monetization or payout. The HR meeting Monday was a farce. A drone in a polo shirt 2 sizes too tight, charts glowing on a projector like accusatory eyes. This is industry standard, folks. Competitors cap at 3 weeks. We're being generous here, positioning us for growth. Growth. The word hung bitter on tongues. The break room erupted like a powder keg the next shift, voices overlapping in a cacophony of fury. Mary slammed her thermos down hard enough to dent the Formica. Generous? I got 5 weeks banked already. Family trip to Cancun lined up, kids' first passports burning holes in the drawer. Poof, gone like smoke. Big Dan leaned back, arms crossed over his barrel chest. 22 years hauling ass on this floor, and they treat us like DoorDash drivers. Gig economy disposables. What's next? Tips for good behavior. Earl, pale as skim milk and sweating through his button-down, cornered Jack by the vending machine, voice a whisper crack. They called me in yesterday. Jack, early retirement incentive, they said, like it's a gift from on high. Watch and a handshake for my troubles. Plastic watch, for Christ's sake, ticks like a bomb. Jack clapped his shoulder, rough but gentle. Voice low thunder rumbling in his chest. Bastards! Earl, you held the numbers steady when the book spun wild in '08, kept us from the red. This ain't right. It's robbery dressed as progress. Earl was out the door by noon, cardboard box under one arm, sagging with binders and a sad desk lamp, eyes glassy as he shuffled past the line without a word. The plant mourned quiet that afternoon. Fewer laughs echoing off the rafters. More sidelong glances exchanged over sparks and screws, the air heavy as a storm about to break. Firings snowballed from there. Office vets with gray hairs and pensions inches from vesting, marched out by security guards in ill-fitting polos like common shoplifters caught with a pilfered wrench. Right-sizing the organization, the suits called it in their memos, all caps and exclamation points. We called it betrayal, plain and raw. A knife slipped between ribs by hands we'd shaken in trust. But buried deep in that cursed memo, like a silver lining sharp as a shiv in the dark, was one overlooked gem. PTO approval streamlined. No pre-authorization required. Notify supervisor 24 hours prior via phone or email. Call in. Take it. No forms begging for approval. No groveling to some desk jockey tallying heads. Jack read it thrice over lunch, his beard twitching like it held secrets of its own, eyes narrowing to slits. They handed us the rope, boys. He muttered to me across the scarred table, fork spearing a meatball like it owed him money. Wonder if they even know how to tie the knots or if they'll hang themselves with it. They knew Jack was the linchpin holding the whole operation from unraveling, though. ECM backlog, 3 months' worth stacked in climate-controlled racks, thanks to his marathon shifts where he'd pour till the heaters glowed red and his fingers cramped like claws. But new orders loomed on the horizon like thunderheads. Q4 rush for a pipeline gig out in Oklahoma. Deadlines circled in red on calendars that didn't forgive delays. No Jack. No modules flowing smooth. The line would choke faster than a carburetor in winter. Landon cornered him Friday afternoon, office reeking of new carpet and ambition, door clicked shut like a trap springing. Harlan, you're top talent, no question. But redundancy's the name of the game these days. Backups, transitioned out. Bringing in a protege to shadow you. Train him solid, pass the torch clean. Enter Tim Klein, 22 and fresh as spring rain. Engineering degree still warm from the ink on the diploma. Handshake limp as wet spaghetti left out too long. Polo shirt starched to cardboard stiffness. Eyes wide with the zeal of a textbook convert clutching his first clipboard like a shield. Mr. Harlan! I devoured those patents in my senior seminar. That sealed pour technique? Absolute genius. Epoxy kinetics at play, right? 2-part polyurethane base with a catalyst kicker? Jack sized him up slow, from scuffed loafers to anxious cowlick. A puppy stumbling into a wolf den, all bark and no bite yet. Sit down, kid. Watch close. Landon beamed like he'd just closed a deal, clapped Tim's back and vanished back to his glass-walled kingdom. Training kicked off Monday morning sharp, the air crisp with the scent of fresh resin bubbling in the tanks. Jack demoed it slow as molasses, step by reverent step. Resin heated precise to 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the nose, stirred counterclockwise in deference to the founder's old quirk, poured in lazy figure eights to avoid air pockets that could doom the seal. Feel the viscosity in your bones, kid, not your eyes. Humid day like today? Thicken it a hair with the hardener. This stuff's breathing. Alive if you listen right. Tim nodded, frantic, pen flying across his notebook like it was on fire, pages filling with diagrams and decimals. But his first pour? A globby mess worthy of a comedy sketch. Housing warped and bubbling like a witch's cauldron gone wrong. Ratio off by a smidge? Tim fretted, wiping sweat from his brow with a sleeve already stained. Jack shook his head, voice edged like a file. Ratios lie when the air's fightin', you hands don't. Try again, slower this time. By lunch, Jack's fuse sizzled low in his gut. Tim was no immediate threat, green as grass in April. But the intent behind him? Crystal clear as a flawless cure. Phase out the old guard, one pour at a time. That night, Jack's kitchen glowed warm under the single bulb hanging like a weary sentinel. Sarah chopping carrots for stew with rhythmic thwacks that echoed her steady heartbeat. The radio murmured low AM talk in the background. Corporate raids gutting heartland firms left and right, folks losing lifetimes in a memo. Jack slumped at the table, scarred from decades of family suppers. Beer sweating rings on the wood like tears unshed. They gutted Earl today, Sarah. Slapped him with a plastic watch and called it incentive. Vacation slashed to scraps, and now this pup shadowing me to steal the tricks before they boot me too. Sarah set a plate steaming before him, hand resting light on his shoulder, fingers tracing the knots there. 43 years you've poured your soul into that place, love. Twins are grown and gone, house is paid free and clear. You've earned rest more than most. Walk away before it walks you. Jack stared at the faded photo magneted to the fridge door. Young him at 20, arms slung round the founder in epoxy-splattered aprons. Grins wide as the Mississippi after a perfect batch sealed tight. Ain't quittin' cold, not yet. But the rules changed on us, no approval needed for PTO? Fine, I call in, all 10 weeks banked. Let 'em choke on their precious efficiency. See how the line runs without the pour. Sarah's eyes widened like saucers, then crinkled at the corners with a mix of fear and fire. My pirate always sailing close to the wind. Just promise me job hunt while you're out. Don't rot on the couch watching game shows and nursing grudges. They clinked bottles soft, the tinny ring sealing their pact like a vow, plotting the escape like teenagers scheming a midnight run. For the first time in weeks, Jack slept sound, dreams free of memos and measuring tapes. Dawn broke Tuesday cold and clear, frost etching patterns on windshields like lace. Tim buzzed into the station early, apron crisp as new snow, tools laid out with military precision from his college lab days. Workers trickled in slow, side eyes sharp as tacks, coffee breaths mingling in the chill. Big Dan rumbled past, pallet fork humming low. Kid Jack coming today? Or he already ghosted for parts unknown. Mary punching her card with a jab. Man's forged from steel and stubborn, bet he shows teaches you the pour proper before lunch. Clock hit 7 sharp, the whistle biting like a reminder. Foreman barked over the intercom. Harlan? Anyone seen Harlan? Phone jangled insistent at the desk like a hornet trapped in glass. Foreman snatched it up, face draining color as he listened. Yeah, PTO, full bank? All 10 weeks? Starting right this minute? Tim deflated like a balloon pricked slow, shoulders slumping under the weight of sudden solitude. Landon stormed the floor minutes later, tie askew and face flushed red as fresh weld, barking orders that echoed off the rafters. What fresh hell is this? Backlog's 3 months deep. Q4 pipeline rush is breathing down our necks like a freight train. Foreman clipboard clutched like a lifeline. Company policy now, sir. He notified verbal 24 hours back. It's his right. Whispers ignited across the line like dry tinder. Jack's making legend status. Suits sowed the wind. Now they reap the whirlwind. Tim stammered pale, voice small as a mouse, but the training schedule? I prepped notes and Landon cut him off with a wave, dialing Jack's cell furious, thumb jabbing like a drill. Straight to voicemail. That gravel growl filtered through speakers. Harlan here. Speak your piece or don't. Time's mine now. The plant held its collective breath that first week. Backlog buffering the blow like a spare tire on a long haul. Modules queued neat in racks. Lines chugged along on momentum. Assembly humming without the usual pour-side chatter. but cracks spiderwebbed out by week 2, subtle at first, then glaring. Tim's pores? Lucky to hit 50% yield. Cracks snaking through housings like lightning. Bubbles trapping air that shorted circuits on test. DOA units piling in reject bins like casualties. Suppliers balked at rush orders, quote, spiking triple. Costs climbed the wall like ivy on a sinking ship. Workers smirked covert in the shadows. Mary torquing bolts a hair slower than spec, drawing out the rhythm. Big Dan accidentally misrouting pallets to the wrong bay, forcing doublebacks. Jack's vacation, boys. They'd whisper over quick drags in the smoke pit. He's enjoying it more than we ever could. Sunny beaches or bust. Jack? He bloomed in the freedom like a flower uncurling to sun after years in shade. Week 1 dawned at the local diner. Corner booth sticky with syrup ghosts. Laptop borrowed from Sarah's nephew propped open like a book of spells. Job site scrolled endless under fluorescent hum. Senior fabricator needed, $45K start, full benefits package including generous PTO. Coffee refills flowed free as conversation. The waitress, Marge with her beehive and knowing smile, topped him off without asking. Trouble brewing, Jack. You got that far-off look. Nah, Marge, just shopping for a new horizon. Black 2 sugars, same as always. Applied to 5 by noon. Resume dusted off and polished. 43 years ECM mastery. Patented processes in the vault. 2 callbacks pinged before the lunch bell, promising. Like first light. Week 2 shifted to the gym downtown. Treadmill pounding like pistons in overdrive. Sweat flying in arcs that cleared the cobwebs from his mind. Phone buzzed ignored in his locker. Landon thrice over, messages stacking like unpaid bills. Job alert chimed sweet. ECM specialist opening, 6 weeks PTO standard, pension vests in 2 years flat. Zoom interview mid-stride, camera angled just so. 43 years hands-on? Those patents we saw? We'd kill for that kind of institutional knowledge around here. Jack, towel dabbing his brow, leaned in close. Ain't about institutional, son. It's scars earned and spite sharpened over decades. You want the poor? Earn the trust. Week 3 found him on a park bench by the river, water murmuring secrets to the willows. Bench scarred with lovers' initials carved hasty. Ducks quacked judgmental from the shallows. Jack sketched poor techniques on a napkin stained with coffee rings, refining angles for the new gig ahead. Called Sarah midday, voice light as the breeze. Lunch run. Your shift wrap soon? ER cafeteria smelled of jello and bleach. Whispers from nurses trading shifts. She squeezed his hand across the tray. Found 3 solid leads, darlin'. 1 up in Indiana. Quiet town with good schools if we ever think on moving. Fresh start, no memos haunting the fridge. She squeezed tighter. Proud as punch, cowboy. But you miss the old cruise banter? The rhythm? Cruise blood, Sarah, they'll hold suits. Let 'em starve on their synergy slop. Intercut the plant's slow fray. Week 4, modules dwindled to weeks' worth, racks echoing empty. Tim cracked under the strain. Epoxy volcanoed in a spectacular fail, singeing his sleeve and sending acrid smoke curling, alarms whooping brief. I'm out. This lab tech gig pays better without the heartburn, he muttered, box already packed by quitting time. Landon screamed bloody at HR drones in his office. 8 weeks PTO baked in? Who the hell architects that kind of insanity? It's a lawsuit waitin'. Board calls heated up the lines. Stocks wobbling like a drunk. Clients sniffing competitors. Whispers of delays. Desperation brewed thick as the resin vats. Memos flying frantic. Jack's week 5. Road trip solo in the old F-150. Scouting plants up I-65. Windows down and radio cranked to classic rock anthems. One tour gleamed sterile, lines robotic but soulless. Another hummed with nods of respect from grizzled hands. No memos taped up like wanted posters on the walls. Offer emailed hot. 52K base. 7 weeks vacation off the bat. Signing bonus to grease the wheels. Start post-vacay, Mr. Harlan. We need that magic touch yesterday. Jack. Deal sealed. But keep the epoxy secrets close. I'll teach slow. Let 'em earn the full ritual. Week 6 circled back home. Projects deferred no more. Deck half-sanded, now smooth under calluses. Garden weeded with Sarah's laughter floating on the breeze. Watering hole rendezvous midweek. Old crew off shift, beers foaming cold in mason jars, jukebox crooning Merle Haggard laments. Big Dan slapped the bar. Plant's a 3-ring circus now. Lines crawling at 60%. Landon's hairline receding faster than the ice caps. Mary, nursing a whiskey neat. He called the house line twice when "Where's Jack hidin'?" Hung up laughing, told him to try the Bahamas. Jack raised his glass high, foam cresting. To spite, the best damn mixer there is. Cures harder than any epoxy. Week 7 locked in the formal acceptance. Paperwork scanned hasty from the public library's ancient machine. Suit dusted off from the back of the closet for the occasion. Sarah framed the offer letter proud by the photo wall, next to the young Jack and founder grinning eternal. New chapter, Sarah. No more suits dictating my days or stealing my nights. Week 8 tapered gentle. Gym sessions lighter on the lungs. Diner chats deeper with Marge trading gossip on town scandals. Polish applied deliberate. Beard trimmed neat with those rusty shears, boots shined to a gleam that caught the light. Eve of return day. Family dinner spread simple but hearty. Twins visiting from college with stories of dorm life and dreams half-formed. Dad's hitting legend status 10 weeks off. Epic, the daughter teased, eyes sparkling mischief. Jack rare soft in the candle flicker. Just taking what's mine by right, kiddo. Time's the real boss, don't let it rob you blind. October 1st dawned foggy and thick, return day hanging like a noose. Plant lot sparse under the mist. Workers clocking in curious, hard hats tilting as they scanned the floor. Jack in yet? Murmurs threaded the air. Bench stood empty, tools dust-fingered and forlorn. Tim's ghost lingering in scattered notes yellowing already. Foreman paced ruts in the concrete by 8. By 9 a.m., calls flew frantic. Cell to voicemail hell, home line ringing unanswered into void. Afternoon brought Landon's sleek car crunching gravel to Jack's rancher, knock echoing hollow off the siding. Truck gone, blinds drawn tight as secrets. Neighbor across the way. Old Bill with his pipe lied smooth. Gone fishing up north, left at Sparrow's fart. Day 2 simmered the panic to a boil slow. Lines ground to halt by midday. Final backlog burned through like tinder, pumps waiting idle for modules that never came. Clients rang the office furious, voices tinny over speakers. Where's our goddamn units? Shipped yesterday or we walked to the competition. HR canvassed desperate, knocking lockers and corners. Anyone here from Harlan? Family ties? Big Dan stonewalled solid as oak. Beats me, ma'am. Vacation policy's king, his call. Day 3 crested at 2 p.m., main line jangling like a lifeline tossed. Foreman snatched it, voice pitched high. Plant operations. Jack, hold on, you're resigning. Effective immediate, no notice. Gasps sucked the air thin. Shears muffled quick under coughs. Landon snatched the receiver, knuckles white. Harlan, you traitorous old, get your ass back here. We need that pour yesterday, the line's dying. Jack's voice filtered calm as cured epoxy, steady and final. Needed me, Landon, past tense now. Tim flunked basic physics. Tell the kid spite bites harder than any crack in the seal. Adios and good luck with the backlog. Click, dead air like a guillotine drop. Silence shattered into chaos sweet. Workers high-fived covert in the bays, Mary whooping low, Viva la PTO, under her breath. Stock ticker blinked red, furious by close of play. Headlines brewing in distant boardrooms. Landon's office devolved to war zone by dusk. Charts bleeding crimson lines across screens. Coffee gone cold and mugs ringed with rage. Those patents got us locked tighter than Fort Knox. Can't offshore the sealed tech. Founder's sigil etched on every mold like a curse. HR whimpered from the corner, faces ashen. We fired Earl too soon. Sir? Thought efficiency meant trim and fat. Desperation peaked sharp as a spike. Private line punched to Old Man Thompson's lake house number. Rod, midcast in the water's ripple. Landon? Yeah, I heard the mess you're stewing in. My boy Jack. Taught him to pour myself back in '68. Resins running like rivers under shop lights. You gutted my legacy wholesale. Benefits slashed to ribbons, vets canned like yesterday's news. Water under the bridge? Hell no. You want help training your pups? $1 million. Wire it clean. I'll show 'em bare bones, nothing more. Landon blanched whiter than fresh foam. $1 million. For hand-holding newbies through a pour? Thompson's laugh crackled like ice on the line. For spite, son. The kind you woke sleepin'. Yours now, full measure. Click, dial tone mocking. Corp HQ Summit convened emergency that night. Execs grim as gravediggers over video feed. Pay the old bastard. Or shutter the doors. Pipeline deals worth 20 mil, modules or we bust wide open. Wired by dawn's light, 7 figures vanishing into ether. Jack? He thrived at the new shop like a fish returned to deep water. First pour there. Perfection incarnate, housing ceiling smooth as silk. Crew hailed him quick, the wizard, slapping backs and buying rounds after shifts. Vacation? He banked. It deliberate now. 2 weeks fall fishing up north, lines singing through quiet waters, Sarah by the shore with a book and a thermos, her laughter the best catch of the day. Worth every gray hair and scarred knuckle, he'd say, reeling in a bass with a grin splitting his beard. Fast forward 2 years to the meat grinder of 2023, restructuring hit like a freight train off the rails. Union whispers swelled underground, leaflets slipped into lockers like contraband. Meetings packed tight at the VFW hall with folding chairs scraping and voices hushed urgent. Benefits back full or we walk en masse. Solidarity's our hammer. The company quaked foundations. Suits scrambled like roaches to light, memos flying appeasement. Offers cascaded, legacy PTO reinstated lock, stock and barrel. Holiday parties revived with potlucks and open bars. Bad apples called ruthless. 2 managers, petty tyrants who'd greenlit the firings with smiles cold as steel. Complaints stacked against them like cordwood from years of gripes ignored. Jack fielded the call Memorial Day weekend, grill smoking lazy curls over burgers charred just right. Return to the fold? Only on my terms, clear as day. Demands laid out firm. 8 weeks vacation full throttle, personal days restored to the roster and those 2 problem suits gone by week's end. HR on the line capitulated quick, voice oily smooth. Name your price, mister. Harlan, we value your expertise. He clocked in first week of June, throne reclaimed at the corner station, tools waiting like old friends. Week 2 brought the show. Escorts in khakis arrived mid-morning, managers boxed hasty with tails tucked between legs. Jack leaned at the loading dock, waving lazy from the shadow. Bye now, fellas. Enjoy that unemployment line. Vacation's calling your name. Grin split his beard wide. Satisfaction sweet as the first pour of the day. Now, October 25th, 2025, current. As the chill wind rattling my window panes and the leaves skittering like ghosts across the yard, that old post I shared? Still viral as a fever, comments flooding in like a river after rain. Jack for president, PTO for all. Revolution starts with one old-timer's spite. Plants reborn from the ashes. Banners strung bold. Employee first. Your voice, our future. Union vote dodged by a hair's breadth, concessions piled high. Benefits gilded finer than before. 9 weeks standard for the vets now, personal days stacking like bonuses. Jack's there steady as ever, pouring with hands that don't shake. Beard grayer threaded with silver but the fire undimmed in his eyes. Me? Moved on after those 4 years to supervisor at a solar panel fab up in Ohio. Wife's promotion easing the monthly pinch like a cool hand on fevered brow. But HR's been persistent as a telemarketer. Andy Jack can't stop ravin', spot open on his shift, same rhythm. Sat down last week over coffee black, offer landed sweet as pie. 10 weeks PTO up front, I pushed, testing waters. Chuckle from across the desk. 11 if you twist the arm gentle. Last Friday night, watering hole thick with haze in the queue, scent of spilled beer. Jack 2 buckets deep into the amber, eyes twinkling like stars punched through cloud. Showed him the thread on my phone. Likes cresting 50K and climbing. Memes of epoxy avengers, quotes etched in digital stone. Those fucktards, he roared, sloshing foam over the rim in toasting fury. Didn't know the storm they woke sleepin'. Know it now, hell yes. They even named a policy after the mess. Harlan holdout clause, whispers say. No more snatchin' time without a fight. Laughter boomed through the bar like thunder. Jukebox shifting seamless to wail. Take this job and shove it. Fists pumping in time. We spoke deeper that night after last call cleared the stools and the bartender flipped the sign to closed. Just the hum of the cooler and our voices low. Jack leaned in close, voice gravel soft, worn smooth by years. Started sweeping those floors at 20, dreams big as the smokestacks belchin' black. Founder spotted it quick. Boy, you got the touch. Steady hands for the future. Taught me the pour under moonlight one summer night. Resins glowing like stars fall into the bench. Secrets passed like a father's will. Lost him to cancer in '05. Slow thief. Promised solemn to guard the craft. Did my damnedest till the suits came crawling with their clipboards and cuts. Paused long, nursing the dregs in his glass like medicine. Earl? Called him yesterday. Golfing down in Florida now. Real retirement with palms swaying and no alarms at dawn. Jack, you lit the fire that burned him clean, he said. Me? Just struck the match. Spite did the rest. My turn came quiet then. 4 years blur spilling out. Second shift haze blurring kids' first steps into overtime fog. Birthdays missed for batch runs. The grind wearing grooves deep. You taught me more than the line, Jack. Spite ain't petty revenge, it's justice carved from bone. He clapped my back solid, hand heavy with history. Kid, life's like epoxy in the vat. Mix it wrong and it hardens bitter, cracks under the slightest press. Pour it true? Seals forever holds the world together. The moral lingers etched deep as any patent stamp. Don't fuck with vacation time. It's not just days marked off a calendar. It's dignity earned drop by sweat-soaked drop, the lifeblood we trade for the daily grind. Jack took his full measure, toppled giants with a phone call and a full bank, left them scrambling in the dust. We're all wiser for the wake. Plant hums humane now. Workers plan trips bold as brass. Cabins in the Smokies. Roads unspooling west. Me, signing papers Monday, sliding back by his bench where the poor waits eternal. Ask for 12 weeks PTO? Why the hell not? Spite's a family trade, passed down like the figure-8 stir. Let me stretch this tale further yet, weave in the threads that made the epic what it became. The warp and weft of lives intertwined on that factory floor. Recall the founder's patent saga deep. 68, plant-running skeleton crew after the Vietnam draft hollowed the ranks. Boys gone overseas with duffels and doubts. Thompson, young firebrand in his 20s then, hair dark and wild, tinkered nights alone. Fusing circuits scavenged from army surplus crates rusting in the yard. Pumps ain't just brawn and pipes. He'd rant to the empty bays, voice echoing off bare walls. They need brains to beat the chaos. First prototype born messy. Poured hasty in a coffee can dented from the break room. Seal lopsided and leaking spite. Tested on a jury-rigged rig patched with baling wire. Hiss of steam, spark of short, flood of oily water swamping the floor. Close enough to taste it. Laughter cut the frustration sharp, echoing solitary. Jack, just a teen intern mopping spills. For pocket change piped up from the corner. Mr. T, try a slower stir. Clockwise traps bubbles. Click of insight. Figure-8 motion born that night. Patent filed triumphant 69. Orders tripling overnight like manna from spreadsheets. Jack's own ascent, unfolded layered. 70s oil boom flooding the docks with crates. Overtime endless. As the black gold flowed, paychecks fat but sleep a stranger. 82. Recession clawed deep. Layoffs looming shadow. Jack volunteered double shifts without a grumble. Trained greenhorns green as sod on the basics, keeping the line alive through lean. 93 fire raged biblical. Roof caved in fury. Modules reduced to ash and twisted metal. Sirens wailing red through smoke. Jack dove in reckless. Salvaged the master mold from the inferno's heart. Lungs scorched black but hero medallion pinned gleaming at the hospital bed. Earl joined the fold 95. Numbers whiz fresh from community college with a slide rule and stars in eyes. Books keep the chaos balanced, he'd declare. Ledger open like a Bible. Bonded quick over poker nights in the break room after hours. Plant lore swapped like high cards. Jack's fire tales for Earl's audit close calls. Takeover eve lingered bittersweet. Thompson's farewell luau sprawled the back lot. Grills hissing smoke-thick polka band wheezing accordions under strung lights. To you all. The blood and thunder. He toasted hoarse, eyes misty as the beer foam. Keep the soul burnin' bright. Jack pulled him aside quiet by the fire barrels. Boss, these suits comin'? You trust 'em with the wheel? Thompson gripped. His arm, voice low fire. Son, legacy ain't in ledgers or contracts. It's in hands like yours, scarred and sure. Guard it fierce. The changes that followed cascaded subtle at first, insidious as rust. Ergonomic stations bolted in that pinched backs worse than the old benches, team huddles devouring lunch hours with forced cheers. Vacation memo landed. Like flu season sudden, sick notes proliferated overnight. Migraines and family emergencies epidemic as workers tested the new ropes. Earl's exit played tragic. Conference room trap sprung. Landon's smile shark-wide over polished oak. Incentive package, Ed. $50K lump sum, health extended to 65. Golden parachute. Earl, voice cracking thin. But the work, the numbers, they're my. Progress demands sacrifice, friend. Bach shuffled to truck under gray skies, Jack waiting curbside with a thermos of coffee strong. Bastards owe you a real watch, brother. One that ticks proud. Earl, eyes brimming. Keep pouring true for both of us, Jack. The line needs your steady. Oh. Tim's era flickered brief but telling. Week 1, Jack patient as a saint. Demo thrice over, anecdotes laced gentle like lessons from a granddad. Founder once poured half-buzzed after a long night. Batch set crooked, pump danced the jig like a drunk at weddin'. Lesson learned, steady wins the seal. Tim, eager beaver. Fascinating historical note. We modeled viscosity in Sims for my thesis. Jack cut soft but firm. Sims lie pretty, kid. Life sweats the truth, feels it in the tremble. Fumbles mounted steady. Jack's patience frayed thread by thread. Home vent that eve. Sarah listening, head tilted, knife paused mid-chop. Teach him half the ritual, love. Let him earn the rest the hard way. Jack nodded grim. Ain't about earning anymore. Sarah. It's about erasure in 40 years with a clipboard and a kid. The PTO bomb dropped surgical. Call placed 6:45 a.m. Tuesday. Foreman still groggy from night shift handover. 10 weeks full, accrued fair and square. Catch you on the flip. Text chain lit the crew like fuse. Me firing first to the group. Jack's out. Full send on the banked time. Emojis exploded wild. Flames roaring. Beers foaming, middle fingers saluting high. 10 weeks Odyssey unfolded legend, day 1 dawned diner bright. Applications fired rapid like bullets from a six-shooter. Resume dusted pristine. ECM master craftsman 43 wires dedicated. Processes patented and proven. Day 3 gym epiphany hit hard. Endorphins surging clarified the haze. No more toxicity poisoning the well. Week 2 interview virtual, tour fed through screen. Show us your pour in action. Jack sketched fluid on paper, explained layered. Heat to the soul, feel the shift, seal with intent. Art over algorithm every time. Pass marked green. Week 4 park therapy deep. Journaled regrets raw. Son's Little League games blurred to memory. Wife's anniversary sacrificed to overtime altars. Ducks waddled judgment free. Pages filled cathartic. Week 5 road scout relentless. 3 plants toured boots on ground, handshakes real as rain. 1 clicked soul deep, foreman a grizzled kin to Jack. We value scars over spreadsheets here. Harlan, welcome aboard. Week 6 home haven suite, deck sanded, silk smooth. Sarah's garden bloomed riot under his hands. Twins zoomed in pixelated. Dad, you going viral yet? Spill the tea. Week 8, wind down mellow. Bar confabs rich with crew updates. Plants full zombie mode. Lines limpin'. Eve closed quiet dinner tender. Sarah's eyes soft. Proud beyond words or worlds. My love, this is your dawn. Return day apocalypse unfolded poetic. Day 1 bench barren murmurs weaving worry. Day 2 house raid clumsy. Landon pounding fist futile. Neighbor's dog barking the lie bold. Day 3 resigned scripted calm over line, but heart raced wild under skin. Closure tasted like victory wine. Sweet and sharp. Corpse collapse cascaded domino. Calls frantic to ghosts. Suppliers ghosting quotes high. Old Thompson's negotiation lakeside epic. Phone cradled mid-cast base fighting line taut. A mill for your betrayals, Bill? Pay up, son, spite don't come cheap. Wired reluctant, funds vanishing. Training terse as wire. Basics only, pups, full secrets die buried with me. Yields crawled snail slow. Over time, riots simmered close. Rebirth arc soared, 23. Union surge underground fierce. Petitions secret scribbled. VFW packed shoulder to shoulder. Jack's lore fueled the blaze. He took his 10, we claim our voice now. Scramble corporate yielded bounty. Benefits bloated generous, villains vanished swift. Jack's return parade. Crew lunch sprawling. Toasts clinking endless under sun. 2025 crossroads mine now. HR pitch velvet gloved. Be Jack's wingman, elevate the line. Terms hammered. 11 weeks PTO. Flex shifts for family. Barseal final. Jack grinning wolf. Welcome home, pup, pour side by side. Always old-timer, teach me the spite. Edits echo true. Module guts epoxy, 2-part polyurethane, base cure 24 hours vacuum tight. Jack claimed no mill, founders right pure. Updates viral surge July 25. Jack's quip gold as the pour. They learned, hard way.